So we're continuing to look at Genesis 3 as the Holy Father and the men and women from around the world are gathering over in the Vatican for the Synod on Marriage and the Family. So we looked last time at how we have an enemy. There's bad news that correlates with the good news. Thanks be to God, the bad news is not equal to the good news. Jesus has triumphed over sin and death and Satan, but we do have an enemy. It's important to know that. It'd be great to say that life's just going to be easy. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be simple. There's no work, no effort, no struggle. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to be great. That's not the truth. One of my favorite passages in Scriptures in Sirach 2, where this wise person is encouraging young people who are beginning to live a godly life and says, "My child, if you aspire to serve the Lord, prepare yourself for an ordeal." Wish I could tell you otherwise, but that's what it is. It is an ordeal, or as Father Francis Martin put it once, the Christian life is like trying to walk up a down escalator. Stop walking on a down escalator, and what happens? You go down. So there's effort, there's struggle, there's something that we have to do here. It's not all on us. God gives an abundance of grace. He gives us his own power so as to overcome the lies and whatnot of hell. But it is a struggle. This is no cakewalk. This is no stroll in the park living the Christian life. So we have an enemy. We mentioned that the evil one tries to deceive the woman to get her to doubt that God is a father. Takes her eyes off of God, puts them onto the tree, this creation that God has made. And that's what happens in sin almost all the time. It's not as if we look at God and we look at something that we're tempted with. It's more like we just stop looking at God and we just focus on his creation. This happens to me in my life constantly. And what happens if you just look at his creation? Well, it's good. So, God doesn't make junk. And so if I'm not careful and I'm just looking at the beauty of his creation, I can get into trouble. So that's what happens to the woman. She just looks at this tree and she goes, "Wow, that's a fantastic tree. That fruit looks really tasty." And she grabs it and she eats it. And then what happens? She turns to Adam and says, "Here, honey, would you like some?" So what's up with this? This is what's known as the ultimate sin of omission. For those of us who are Catholic, who go to confession regularly, and if you haven't been in some time, come back. Doesn't matter how long it's been, just come back. I didn't go for 10 years myself. But most people, we confess sins of things that we've done, sins of commission, words I've said, thoughts I've had, actions I've done. But there's also such a thing as sins of omission. That is, things that I failed to do that I should have done. This is the ultimate sin of omission. Adam should have been, he's standing right next to the woman when she's sitting here having this conversation with the snake. And the snake's going, "No, God's not going to do that. He's holding out on you. He's bad. He's a bad God. He's not a father. He's an adversary. Just eat the tree. You'll be like him." Adam should have been going, "No, don't do that. Don't listen to him. It's a creature. It's wrong. It's lying. God's not your adversary. He's your father. Don't listen to him. Look at me. Look at me. Listen to me." What happens? He does nothing. Just sits there, silence, nothing, zip, no words, no nothing. So as a result of that, what happens? Death. Death comes. Death comes to the woman, death comes to the man, objectification comes in, their relationship with God is ruined, the relationship with creation is ruined, the relationship with themselves is ruined, the relationship with one another is ruined, the relationship with the animals is ruined. Everything's ruined. Why? Because the man did nothing. Great word for us as brothers. Our task is to protect. Not to domineer, not to lord it over, to protect. God gave us strength. He gave men and women both strength, right? But he gave us strength in each in different ways. Our task is to care for others, to be generative, to be life-giving, to look out for, to defend. Adam failed to do that. The result of that sin of omission is disaster for the human race. So it's very important to not think this was just like, the woman's problem. The man did zip. And as a result of that, what happens? They eat, they realize that they're naked, all of a sudden they look at each other with shame, and then they sew these fig leaves together. And then here's the good news in all this. So if I'm God and my creature who I make to be in friendship with me, who has no reason to doubt me, to not trust me, rebels against me, basically flips me off and says, "I wish you were dead." If I'm God, what do? Crumple that up. Let's make a new creation. Let's start all over again. But God doesn't do that. He doesn't do that with you and me either. God doesn't enact vengeance. Instead, what happens? It says, starting in verse 8, they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. Why? Because this is what we do when we sin. We're afraid. I don't want to look at God. I'm afraid if I look at God, he's going to smite me. He's going to condemn me. He's going to damn me. But the Lord God called to the man and said to him, where are you? This isn't because God's up there in heaven going, wow, where did the man go? I can't see him down there. This is inspired poetry again, right? How we read this, the tone that we read this is key. So some of us might read this and go, where are you? Where'd you go? Where are you hiding? What are you doing? But that's not what this question means. Why is asking God, where are you? In fact, he might be asking that to you right now. He might be asking that to me right now. Where are you? Why is he asking the question? Because implied in the question is something like, where are you that I might help you? Where are you that I might come and get you? You ever sat across the table from somebody having dinner and you can just tell they're spaced out? Maybe you were having a really deep conversation and all of a sudden they're looking out the window and you look at them and you go, where are you right now? What are you thinking? That's what the Lord's doing here. Where are you, my child, my creature, my son, my daughter, whom I love, who has wandered away? Where are you, that I might come and get you, that I might bring you home? You don't have to repair things on your own. You can't repair things on your own. Let me do that. Remember the story of the 100 sheep that the man has, and one of them wanders away? And the shepherd leaves the 99 and goes and looks for the one who's lost. And when he finds it, he takes it, he puts it on his shoulders, and he brings it home. What did that sheep do to get home? He let the shepherd pick him up and put him on his shoulders. That's it. Maybe that's what some of us need to do right now. Just to cry out to God and go, Lord, I'm lost. I don't even know the way home. So if that's us right now, we're lost, we don't know the way home, know that the Father, your Father, not your adversary, the one who loves you, who made you for friendship, is calling you by name, saying, where are you right now? Let me come and get you. Let me bring you back into my house. Let me bring you back into friendship. Let me bring you back into intimacy. Let me bring you back into joy. Let me bring you back into freedom. Let me wash away whatever it is that's causing you to be afraid. May that be the grace that you and I experience today.